So I think this is the third or fourth cranial webinar. And on the run up to it, it has changed. It started off as just working with what I call the cranial C, the C within the brain, within the spinal cord, flowing out through the nerves, and how that works, and the experience of that, how that connects to the higher self, how it connects to the earth, and how when it travels out through the nerves it connects to every part of the body. And that it's made of water. It's 99% water, well, salt water, so it produces a channel that the higher energies can flow through, and as it's flowing out through the nerves, it creates vortexes, the patterns within the myelinating glial cells, which add a healing and an energy to it. And then coming up to this one, it just became more and more apparent, or I wanted, or the energies that B wanted, or consciousness, whatever, that to work with the different glial cells in the brain. There are not many different types. There's the neurons, there's the astrocyte cells, there's the myelinating glial cells, which are the myelin sheath, and there's the microglial cells, which are kind of the immune system for the brain. So I kind of put it out that we were going to do that. And then in the last few days, well, actually in the last day really, it's just been coming to me as I've been practicing it and working with it, to incorporate into it work from the more advanced webinars. Every Sunday there's a group or a family that comes together, and we work quite strongly with the Kundalini and different organs and different energy circuits that open up in holographic breathing. It's very similar to a healing system I used to work with called Tibetan pulsing. It's not exactly the same, but the basic energies are the same. I've added a lot more energy points and different ways of working with it, but it's that channel, and somehow holographic breathing is connected to that. That energy opens up easily through that. And it just started becoming apparent, because I kind of understand how those different circuits relate to the different glial cells. I was thinking, wow, why don't I teach that as well? And then I could feel the energy behind it to do that. So we will do that, but it is a kind of new people are coming to learn holographic breathing, so we can only go at a particular pace and be able to cover so much. Because to start off with, I'm going to be teaching holographic breathing. There's that introduction of what we're going to do. We're going to be, first I'm going to teach holographic breathing, and in the first meditation we're going to connect with the cranial C, which is all of in how I was taught cranial sacral therapy. It may have changed by now, but there's, or how it's shown in the anatomy books, there's a cranial fluid around the brain, there's some ventricles within the brain with cranial fluid in it, goes around the spine and down the center of the spine, and that is it for the cranial fluid. And they don't mention the fluid within the brain, but the way we work with it in holographic breathing, that it's all of the fluid. It's the fluid in the ventricles, it's the fluid around the brain, it's the fluid within the brain, and that same fluid flows off down through the nerves. And that fluid, even though it may be called different things in anatomy books, it's exactly the same thing. It's 99% water, and then the last 1% is salt, glucose and oxygen. So it's one watery fluid. And the cells in the brain, they're not tightly connected. They've got tentacles, they're spread out, they're connected at a distance to all the other cells. So they're more like seaweed and sea anemones floating in this sea. And then the ventricles are just like spaces without any seaweed in them, that is just cranial sea. And I'll show you some pictures of that first, because we'll drop into the cranial sea in the meditation to learn holographic breathing. I will teach you how to do holographic breathing in a guided meditation, and then we will continue on and drop into the cranial sea and the quality of the cranial sea and how it flows out through the nerves, how it connects to the earth, how it's a channel to the higher energies and a channel from the earth, and is just a healing sense through our whole self. And one of the emphasis, what seems to be coming up to this webinar, I don't even know that I can explain it, it's kind of what is us and what isn't us. Because with the immune system, you know, you've got all of this bacteria and different things in the gut. They're not really us, they're different organisms. It's just, I don't know how many, but we're just made up of all of these other organisms that aren't. That's all right, I'll have to be half in the shade. All right, it's kind of what is us and what is not us. So there's all of these organisms in our bodies for the immune system in the gut, but also when you start becoming in contact with the brain and the energies flowing through the brain and the different brain cells becoming aware of the different glial cells and different organisms in the brain, suddenly you are viewing what you may before have considered to be yourself. And because we kind of think of ourselves as our intellect, and the anatomy of the brain is also kind of the anatomy of the intellect. And when you start viewing that, you are no longer what you thought you were. You're more of a viewer than actually being that. So that is kind of what we're working with. So, okay, so as the energies go through the brain and the energies go through the glial cells, what we once associated as ourselves, we're viewing rather than being. And it gives a whole different context to what we consider to be us and not us. So saying all of that, I'm now going to go into teaching how to do holographic breathing. In holographic breathing, the lips are closed all of the time. The tongue is on the roof of the mouth, and it's the upper surface of the tongue. And as much as feels comfortable, and when you're new to that, it may just be ½ an inch of the tongue on the roof of the mouth. But if you can have it so the tip of the tongue is close to or touching the front teeth, that is best. If it has to be a bit back, that is fine, but optimally the tip of the tongue touching or close to the front teeth, the upper surface of the tongue on the roof of the mouth. So if everybody starts just having that there. And so the breath is through the nose all of the time. Now, there is a movement of the jaw which I will describe, but I don't want you to start doing that yet. We'll wait until the meditations to teach you that in a meditative way. So the tongue is relaxed on the roof of the mouth, the lips are relaxed and closed, and then on the in-breath, the jaw is gently opening, and on the out-breath, the jaw is gently closing. And that is happening with the lips closed all of the time, and the tongue on the roof of the mouth. And it's a small motion of the jaw. It's about half a finger width, a quarter of an inch, a few millimeters. It's not a big motion of the jaw. And it starts as an exercise, but there's a certain point where it integrates with the breath of the body. And the jaw is no longer kind of opening and closing, it's just floating between what's happening in the muscles below and what's happening in the muscles above. It just floats between those and just automatically opens and closes with the breath. And the dynamic of the lips staying closed all of the time and the tongue being on the roof of the mouth starts this wave-like motion with the breath moving through the face, moving through the cranium, moving through the brain, and moving through the whole body. And it gives you an ability to be able to travel inwardly and travel through your anatomy and feel different energies, and a whole healing system, a modality opens up, like a whole basically healing thing just comes to life. And it is whole, it's connected to the higher self, it's connected to the earth, and it helps people to channel their higher self or their higher beings or their beneficial energies. It helps people connect to the earth. Now I'm going to demonstrate it for a few breaths so that you can see the movement of the jaw is relaxed and small, and that it is meditative. It's not an exercise type breath. It is a relaxed meditative type breath. So I'll just do a few small breaths. And very quickly it takes you into quite a deep meditative space. Now I want people just to, because one of the things, well, about the only thing that can kind of go wrong when people are learning is they'll start doing the exercise and they're starting, well, how can I keep my jaw open, my jaw, and keep my lips closed? So we'll just do that so people can have the experience of that before we start. So just have your lips relaxed and closed, and just opening and closing the jaw and keeping the lips closed, a bit like chewing. You can eat food, you can move the jaw, and you can have the lips closed. So just bouncing the jaw up and down in a small way and getting the experience that you can move the jaw and keep the lips closed. Okay, brilliant. Okay, and you can let that come to an end. Now, there's too many people here for me to see, if any, there are too many screens for me to see, but hopefully everyone can do that. Hopefully everybody can open, close their jaw and keep their lips closed. As I say, we do it every day when we're eating. If you are new to this and you haven't done holographic breathing, it's by far best to do this meditation, this first meditation where I'm teaching the holographic breathing, to do it sitting up, because it becomes relaxing and sleepy very, very quickly, and you can easily pass out and miss some of the instructions. And unless you actually get all of the instructions, it's not going to work. It's like you get everything in place and working, and then suddenly it just works, and it's like riding a bike. Everything integrates together, but you need all of those bits working. So just for this first meditation, it's good to be sitting up if it's your first time. It's the upper surface of the tongue on the roof of the mouth. It starts off with the front of the tongue being on the roof of the mouth, and then, so it may be half an inch, and then as you get used to it, then it'll be an inch, and then later it becomes the whole tongue on the roof of the mouth. So it's as much as feels comfortable. Some people may feel comfortable just having the whole tongue on the roof of the mouth from the very beginning. So it's whatever you're comfortable with. It's the tip of the tongue is against or close to the front teeth, and then as much as the tongue as you can get on the, well, not as much as feels comfortable. By practicing holographic breathing, the tongue gets more and more relaxed and covers more and more the roof of the mouth until it's just splayed across the roof of the mouth, and it connects up all sorts of energy systems and energy pathways. Just do it whatever feels comfortable. Just what feels comfortable. It's meditative, soft, relaxed breathing. It's not connective breathing. It's not where you don't have a space. There's a space. Normally the breath will just get longer and longer, but nothing's forced. Whatever feels easy, whatever feels natural. Brilliant. Thank you. All right, so if this is your first time, it's good to be seated and upright. Once you've actually learnt it and it's going, then you can do it lying down, upside down, walking, jumping out of an aeroplane, however you want to do it. But this first time, if it's first time, try it sitting up so you can be aware. Something came into my head to say, but it seems to be gone. There is a place, we start off with doing it from the mouth and the jaw, and there's an important part where I bring the awareness to the nose. It's really good to be aware through that part where we change from a more mechanical breath in the mouth to the breath coming in through the nose, and then at that point it generally integrates for people and drops into a deep meditative space. All right, okay, take these off. This is going to last maybe 25 minutes. So, closing your eyes. If you haven't done holographic breathing, just breathing in a relaxed way. And we're going to bring in some resources, sending a smile to the earth, sending some energy to the earth, and allow the earth to say hello back, allowing yourself to receive from the earth, and notice what that feels like through your body and through your energies. So you're nicely connected to the earth, and there's a communication back and forth with the earth. And then sending a smile, sending some energy to the higher self, and also the beneficial energies. The beneficial energies are any channels you like to work with, anything any beneficial spiritual or channeling or any type of energies that are beneficial that you work with. Just saying hello to the higher self and the beneficial energies, and allowing the higher self and the beneficial energies to say hello back. Allow yourself to receive from the higher self and the beneficial energies, and notice what that feels like through your body and through your energies. And asking the earth, the higher self and the beneficial energies to be with you through the whole webinar as your guide, as your resource. And just breathing gently. The tongue is relaxed on the roof of the mouth, and as much as feels comfortable, the tip of the tongue is close to or touching the front teeth, and then from there maybe half an inch of the tongue on the roof of the mouth, maybe an inch. For people who've been doing it for a while, maybe the whole tongue, but whatever feels comfortable. Tongue on the roof of the mouth, and it stays on the roof of the mouth all of the time. The lips are relaxed and closed, and the lips stay relaxed and closed whether you're opening the jaw or whether you're closing the jaw. They don't open with the jaw. And the breath is gentle and relaxed through the nose, and there's a space in the breath. It's not connective breath. It's just a normal breath. Relaxing the back of the neck, relaxing the back of the head. And then just making some gentle, small motions up and down with the jaw, about half a finger width, quarter of an inch, 3 or 4 millimeters. Whatever feels easy, at whatever speed feels easy, just opening and closing the jaw with the lips closed and the tongue on the roof of the mouth. And notice that you can do that. You can do that, and you can keep the lips closed. And now start, as the jaw is opening, just open the jaw much more slowly and allowing the breath to come in through the nose. And as the jaw is closing, allow the breath to come out through the nose. So as the jaw is gently opening, notice how it draws the breath in. It's like a bellows. If you keep the lips closed, you keep the tongue on the roof of the mouth, as the jaw opens, it draws the breath in through the nose. And as the jaw closes, it expels the breath out through the nose. It feels like a little bellows, nice, slow, relaxed movements of the jaw, and it starts to orchestrate the breath. Relax the back of the neck, relax the back of the head, the jaw relaxes open slowly, the breath comes in. The jaw relaxes closed, the breath through the nose comes out. Notice how it starts integrating together with your breath. The jaw relaxes open, the breath comes in, the jaw relaxes closed, the breath comes out. Relaxing the back of your neck, relaxing the back of the head. You may start feeling different energies moving through you, different things happening, different relaxations. Relaxing the jaw open, the breath comes in through the nose. Relaxing the jaw closed, the breath comes out through the nose. Now we're going to change the whole emphasis. We're going to change the emphasis from the jaw to the nose and the breath that's coming through the nose. So having the awareness as you're breathing in through the nose, the jaw opens. As you're breathing out through the nose, the jaw closes. Notice how the energy gets much softer and more meditative. And now, rather than the breath aligning with the jaw aligns with the breath. As you breathe in through the nose, the jaw relaxes open with it. As you breathe out through the nose, the jaw relaxes closed with it. You may start feeling nicely relaxed. You may start feeling yourself moving into a meditative space or a shamanistic type space. Breathing in, the jaw relaxes open. Breathing out, the jaw relaxes closed. The lips stay relaxed and closed all of the time, and the tongue stays relaxed and on the roof of the mouth. If you're having any trouble with that at all, just make the movement of the jaw smaller. Make it a smaller movement, make it slower, and make it more relaxed. It can be a tiny motion. And then you should find it easier to have the lips closed and the tongue on the roof of the mouth. At a certain point, it just all falls into a line, and it's as if you've awakened a memory, as if you've always known how to breathe like this. You can remember it from some distant past. Breathing in, the jaw is relaxing open. Breathing out, the jaw is relaxing closed. As the jaw is closing, the teeth, they just float together. There's no pressure. Breathing in, the teeth are separating. Breathing out, the teeth coming together, but there's no pressure, or you leave them just slightly apart so they don't quite touch. So the jaw is never fixed, it's always relaxed and flowing. Breathing in, the jaw relaxes open. Breathing out, the jaw relaxes closed. The teeth and jaw relax. So now we're going to start aligning that with the body. As the chest opens, the jaw opens with it. As the chest closes, the jaw closes with it. You don't even have to feel the jaw or work with the jaw. You'll notice once you've got it, once it's started, it will just be subtly moving away in the background with your breath. The chest opens, the jaw is relaxing open. The chest closes, the jaw is relaxing closed. The abdomen is opening. Notice how easy you can get a breath into your abdomen. The abdomen is opening, the jaw opens with it. The abdomen closes, the jaw closes with it. Feel it right down into the sides of your pelvis, the sides of the pelvis opening on the in-breath. The jaw gently opens. The sides of the pelvis closing on the out-breath. The jaw gently closes. Let your neck be relaxed. Let the energies relax and move through your neck. In a very subtle way, notice how the whole face, the cranium, the brain and the neck and throat have all started to breathe. They've all started to gently join in with the breath, and that there's an energy now feeding through your face and brain, through your neck and through your spine. Very gently you fall in line with a meditative healing energy connected to the earth, to the higher self, to the beyond. It's like a gate opens. It's like a key to a gate, and as soon as the jaw falls in line with the breath, with the lips closed and the tongue on the roof of the mouth, this whole thing goes off and you drop into this deep meditative place, and your brain starts to breathe and heal itself. All the glial cells and the brain cells start to breathe. The brain is 90% water, the fluid in the brain is 99% water, and brain cells are separated by long tentacles. They're just floating in that sea. So they can breathe in that sea. That sea is full of oxygen and glucose. They can breathe in that sea. Everything starts to breathe. Your arms, your legs, your hands, your feet, your brain, your face, your head, your spine. Every cell starts to breathe. You've moved into a new mode of breathing. And the body can deeply heal through and through. Notice how nourishing it feels. Notice how your cells can suddenly breathe and they're feeling like they're getting oxygen and nourishment to every part of you, to every cell. All of the time the lips are relaxed and closed, and all of the time the tongue is relaxed and on the roof of the mouth. And start becoming aware of the sides of the face and the sides of the cranium and the sides of the jaw. As well as the jaw moving up and down, everything's opening to the sides. So on the in-breath, the jaw, the face, the cranium opening to the sides as you breathe in. Closing medially as you breathe out. And as this starts, you can feel it through your whole body. It's like your whole body opening to the sides on the in-breath, including the face, the jaw, the cranium. On the out-breath, everything closing medially. And if you feel this in the cranium, the sides of the cranium opening to the sides on the in-breath, closing medially on the out-breath, you start feeling underneath this, you start feeling the cranial sea, this salt water with glucose and oxygen, opening on the in-breath, closing on the out-breath. And to start off with, you'll feel the cranial sea around the brain, and maybe these large ventricles in the brain just full of cranial sea. And then allow yourself to feel it through the whole brain, that all of the brain cells are just floating in this sea. And suddenly it's all fluid, it's all cranial sea. Opening to the sides as you breathe in, closing immediately as you breathe out, and down through the whole spinal cord and around the spinal cord. Cranial sea. The glial cells are like seaweed in the cranial sea. And this becomes like a portal. This fluid through your whole cranium is the perfect environment for channeling energies from the higher self and the subtle realms and the beneficial energies. As you're breathing with this water, if you wish, you can allow those higher energies to come in to that cranial sea and heal through that cranial sea. This volume of water. And then also you can feel this water, this cranial sea, flowing off down through the nerves. There's nothing to stop this cranial sea flowing through the nerves, and it flows out from the brain stem, out through all the cranial nerves to all of the areas of the face, spreads through the whole face, travels down the spine and out through the nerves, through the arms, through the chest, through the abdomen, through the pelvis and legs, spreads out through every nerve fibre or nerve capillary through the whole body. You can feel this lake of water, salt water with glucose. It's got the energies of the Ajna chakra, the third eye, in it, flowing out through it. It's got the energies of the crown chakra flowing down through it. And it's got the energies of your higher self flowing into it. And this is all flowing down through this unbroken lake and rivers and streams of water, flowing out through the nerves and through the whole body. And it's carrying healing to every muscle, every organ, into the genitalia, into the pelvis, into every part of you, especially down through the arms and legs and into the hands and feet. Gently breathing with the holographic breathing. Notice how the holographic breathing has just become natural. Just works on its own. You barely have to think about it. And as well as this light that travels through the cranial sea, you start getting the energies of the lower organs from the pelvis, from the sexual organs, from the rectum, from that whole area, and from the legs and from the earth. This starts rising up through these streams of river and water as a nourishment. You get the nourishment of the sexual potency, you get the nourishment of the earth, kundalini, rising through you and travelling up through the cranial sea, through the nerves, through the organs. You've got the vagus nerve coming down from the brain stem, feeding this cranial sea and light into all of the organs. And you've also got the energies of all of the organs flowing back up into the brain, into the spine. So there's a divine energy pouring down through you. And there's the earth energy, and you as a divine being, your energies flowing up through the sea, through the brain, through the glial cells, around the glial cells and through the glial cells. And also finally ascending through the top of your head and up into the higher self. And as that happens, you might feel your spine starting to give, your spine starting to melt and relax as your karma can start flowing home. That connection with the higher self, things no longer have to go in circles, they can just leave. That karma can just be drawn out of you, release out through the top of your head, toxins, toxic energies, upset, past lives. Karma can just start unraveling and going home. There seems to be that facility tonight for karma to go home. So if you're feeling that, just allowing that to happen. Gently breathing, keeping the neck relaxed. The whole body relaxed, and gently breathing with the holographic breathing. Okay, we're going to come back in about a minute. Just letting that all calm down. And breathing gently with the holographic breathing. And when you feel ready, gently allowing yourselves to come back. Okay. Let's show you some pictures. Glial cells in the brain. Notice they're joined by tentacles and they're quite a long way apart, and everything in between these cells is cranial sea. It's water with glucose and salt in it. This is a ventricle. The only difference is this is exactly the same fluid, there's just no cells in it. So our brain is an aqueous environment, and there's far more fluid. There's 9 times more fluid than there is brain cells. So that's what it looks like in the brain. I can take these off. And in the spine. These are these things here, they make the myelin sheath. They're called myelinating glial cells. As they come into the nerves, they actually join together and they make capillaries. So the cranial sea can flow around them and down through the nerve, and they can join together and they make capillaries for the cranial sea to also flow down through the nerves. Here they are in the nerves. See, these are much shorter than they are in real life. They're 100 times as long and as they're wide. So it will go off kind of out the room and outside and further. They're much longer than this. And the cranial sea can travel down through these. And these joints, there's thousands of tentacles, which makes the surface area much bigger, so it can go through the joints and carry on. This is a bit like the lymph capillaries, but as to carry cranial sea off down through the nerves. And there's a big difference if you think of the cranial sheath as rather than a sheath, but as capillaries that carries water. The whole visualization of it is a very different thing. Have a cross section of a myelinating glial cell. This is the axon in the middle that's carrying the current. This is the cell, and it coils around, but every coil there's more cranial sea than there is actually the cell itself. So it creates these coils, and as the sea goes down, it makes these spirals and vortexes as it goes down through the nerves. I'm not going to show too many pictures, but what I will do is put a whole collection of pictures together, and when I send you out the recordings, all of those pictures will be there so you can view it more better. I'm just going to give you an idea of it. This is the ventricles from the front. The brain comes out right around here, and you've got two lateral ventricles. This is the thalamus at the top of the brain stem, and then you've got a ventricle. These are just full of cranial sea without any cells. Then you've got a ventricle here, and then it goes down the spine. So they're just spaces full of cranial sea. Here's some sideways going down the nerves of the myelinating glial cells, kind of capillaries carrying cranial sea down through the nerves. I painted these pictures just for you. Doesn't show this in the books. I spent all this time painting pictures for you. You should be happy. What else we got? Here's one with the brain from the side. So this is the cerebrum. This is the thalamus. You've got the ventricles, the lateral ventricles around them. You've got the cerebellum at the back, the pons here, the fourth ventricle there, and then it goes all down the spine. But it's all fluid. It's all cranial sea with cells doing this in it. All right, so we are going to drop into the cranial sea as before. And then we're going to work with the different glial cells. And these cells here, can you see these cells? These are called astrocyte cells. They're like little sea anemones. They've got loads of tentacles. And these until fairly recently, until the last 30 or 40 years, the astrocyte cells were just thought of as connective tissue or fillers. We've got these fillers in our brain that didn't do anything. And Einstein, after he died, amazingly, he carried on teaching after he died, because they actually cut his head open because they wanted to see why he was so good at thinking. and they thought there would be lots more synapses or lots more neurons. But it wasn't. It was exactly the same as everything else. But what there was hugely more astrocyte cells, these cells that they just thought were connective tissue that held the whole brain together in this sea, because if they weren't be there, the brain would be sea as well. It would just be slushing around all over the place in the cranium. And they started investigating this, and they found that there was 20,000 times more communication going through the astrocyte cells than through the kind of nerve pathways and neurons through the whole brain, that the whole way they'd been viewing it was wrong. And that the neurons, you've got the nucleus of the neuron here. This is called the axon, and it produces a charge, and that goes off and connects to another one. You see the legs of another neuron somewhere else joining to this one, and that will go off and join to other ones and other ones. These communicate through telephone wires or through the axons, through the whole nervous system. And then, amazingly, I mean, this is incredible for me, where the nerves come out of the spine, there's one nucleus of the neuron there, and then the axon or the nerve fiber comes out, and that continues. So say it's kind of halfway down your spine, it comes into what's called the horse's tail. You can have a neuron that's like 4 feet long. It can come from the spinal cord down through the pelvis, down right to the big toe. You can have a cell that's so minuscule you can't see it, but it's 4 feet long. So these are telephone wires in a way, and there's many more connections here, and they come straighter and straighter, and then they just connecting out through the whole body. And these are like telephone wires transmitting these electrical charges or intelligence that we don't know how it works. The astrocyte cells, they communicate, but they're like cell phones. So you can get one astrocyte cell here, communicates to another astrocyte cell here, and the scientists have got no idea how they're communicating to each other, what they're doing to make the communication, what medium it's traveling through. But for me, this is a bit more spiritual or lateral thinking. And anyway, Einstein had loads more of those. When people have Alzheimer's disease, dementia, this kind of thing, it's not the neurons that are broken down. What's broken down is the astrocyte cells. So what was thought of fillers are massively important. So, but one thing, when you connect to these astrocyte cells through the whole brain, and we're going to do that in holographic breathing. First, we're going to be in the sea. Then we're going to connect to the astrocyte cells, which are only in the brain and the spinal cord. They don't continue down through the nerves. So it's just the central nervous system has all of these astrocyte cells that all connect together and hold the whole thing. So it's not just fluid. We will connect to those. The cranial sea doesn't hold the intellect. You don't really get an experience of the intellect when you're in the cranial sea. When you come into the astrocyte cells and knowledge and experience of the astrocyte cells, you also don't have an experience of the intellect. So we're going to be in that, and this connects to an energy circuit that we work with in the advanced webinars. The energy circuit that connects to the astrocyte cells and the connective tissue through the whole body is the yellow energy circuit. We'll be connecting to the astrocyte cells, and we'll be connecting to the yellow circuit. And the yellow circuit, I'm not going to go into depth, but I'll give you a little idea. It includes the stomach, the spleen, the esophagus, the tongue. And The nose also, and the ethmoid, which is between the eyes in here, they all relate to this yellow energies. And we'll be connecting to the pelvic energy of the yellow energies as well, which in the men, it's the erectile tissue in the penis, and for the women, it's the clitoris. Oh, there it is. Oh, look, here we have clitoris. So not many people, oh, I guess younger people know, but older generation, they don't always know what the clitoris, and I don't think many men know. So if you've got the pelvis here, like this is the pelvis, everyone. The clitoris, now this is a bit bigger than it should be. It fits in here like this. So, and the vagina here is where this finger is. So you've got the legs of the clitoris, the bulb, the what do they call that? What do they call those? Anyway, you've got the whole clitoris as an organ there, and then this is the bit that normally sticks out a bit at the top there with the hood on it. Now, so that is the clitoris, and that is the sexual energy behind this yellow circuit. It travels up, it gives that all energy, and it will open up an energy through the astrocyte cells. For the men, it's the erectile tissue of the penis. Now, quite often men are aware of this bit sticking out, but it does the same thing as the clitoris. It comes in here, and behind the ball sack, the legs carry on down towards the sit bones on each side. The tissue and the urethra go inside there, but you get the legs of the penis in the same shape as the clitoris. So, and in this energy, to feel that basic energy that's going to rise in the body, really good for the men to become aware of the erectile tissue in that area. So we're going to work into the astrocyte cells. We're going to connect it to some, I can't go into depth, but we'll connect it to some energy points. And the kundalini, that base sexual energy for that circuit, is the clitoris for the women, and it's the erectile tissue in the penis for the men. So I don't know how far we're going to get into this. It may have to go over several webinars. Then after that, now the astrocyte cells are relating to the yellow circuit. The cranial C is relating to the lung circuit, which is the lungs, it is the colon, and the other two organs are the rectum and the brainstem in that circuit. And they breathe with the cranial C. It's the sides of the cranium, and there are two large sinuses here which are like the lungs for the face. So we're going to connect. Now, you don't have to remember all of this because I will just mention them, and as long as you're vaguely in that area, you can see that opening up through the cranial C. So we'll go into the cranial C to start off with, this time as the lung circuit. Then after a while, we're going to drop into the astrocyte cells, and you'll feel the energy change, and you'll feel it more connecting to the connective tissue through the whole body, and the tongue maybe, and the nose. I'll just mention points, and you may feel it opening up through a different circuit. Then, if we get time, we'll drop into the neurons. The neurons open a different circuit. They've got a very different energy, and they represent the intellect. You'll start feeling the quality of your own intellect when you drop in to the neurons and the axons from the neurons, and that whole pathway that opens up through the body. This connects to the blue energy circuit, which is the adrenals, the kidneys, the bladder, the urethra, and the vagina for the women, and the soft tissue of the penis for the men. So you've got the erectile tissue in the penis, which is the yellow energies, and then where the urethra is and the flesh around the urethra, where you pee through, that is this blue energy. So it's the urethra in the penis and the flesh around it. And the women, that's much easier because the clitoris is separate from the vagina, whereas in the men it's all together in one organ, so it's not so easy to work with. But if you go into the energies, you will feel it. Now, then after that, we're going to work into the myelinating glial cells, which are around the axons. Here you've got the neuron, the axon, and then the myelinating glial cells going through there. And in the nerves, you've got the myelinating glial cells, and then you've got the axon, one long axon from the from the spine, you know, right out to your fingertips or whatever. Incredible. One cell traveling through your whole body. They're around the axon, and because they've got so much cranial C in them, they are a bit the blue energies, but actually they're more like a communication between the axons and the neurons and yourself. So it's kind of a higher quality of the lung energy circuit. How far we get through that meditation, I got no idea. I've got a feeling we're not going to get very far, and I'm going to have to do this over several webinars, because we will spend 4 weeks or 4 Sundays just doing the yellow energies, and then 4 Sundays just doing the blue energies. So we go into it in much more depth in the advanced webinars on Sunday, and everybody can come to those. We're just going to touch on to that. There's a lot of information there. We will, I don't know how far we'll go, but I'll just do it at a pace that feels okay. If you want to go into that in depth, just register for the normal Sunday webinars we do. I don't want to give any more information. I just want to do it in a general way. And whatever people's experience is, it's fine. You know, have your own experience. But I want to bring you to a place where you see it as its constituent parts, which are the cranial C, which is 90% of it, and the cells, which are a lesser part of it, and the cells are full of water as well. All right, but whatever you experience is fine. It may be different to, I'm going to take my headphones off now, it may be different to what I'm describing. You know, go with whatever you're feeling. So we do need to go into the meditation now. And let me just put it on mute. All right. Closing your eyes. Let me check that I've done that correctly. Okay. Closing your eyes and dropping into the holographic breathing. Notice, just dropping into the holographic breathing. Notice how easy it starts. The lips are relaxed and closed. The tongue is on the roof of the mouth. On the in-breath, the jaw gently opens, and on the out-breath, the jaw gently closes. Breathing with the whole body. being aware of the throat and the neck breathing. Letting the neck and the cervical spine, the vertebrae in the neck, let that relax and breathe. Breathing with the arms and legs. Notice the arms and legs opening and closing with the breath. And the hands and feet opening and closing with the breath. The lips are relaxed and closed, the tongue is relaxed on the roof of the mouth, the jaw just gently floating open and closed with the breath. And start feeling this sideways motion of the breath. And the in-breath, the jaw, the cranium, sides of the body opening out on the in-breath. The out-breath relaxing back in medially towards the middle. And with this sideways breath, being able to feel inside your cranium. It's a fluid environment, the cells are spread out. And you may feel it as a fluid, or you may feel it as an energy. Whatever you feel is fine. But notice it's spacious and that you can move through it. There's space between the cells. It travels down through the spine. It travels out through the nerves. Notice how you get a sense of relaxation as it travels out through the nerves, starts to ground, and also as it's traveling out through the nerves, it gives a way for the brain and central nervous system to detox. It's a bit like you're feeling the cranial lymph. All of the toxins and toxic energies can release from the brain and out through the nerves. And then those toxins come out of the nerves finally and into the lymph and then back to the heart, and then are just taken out of the body through the normal elimination routes. But it gives a way for your brain to offload. As this cranial seal, this energy starts flowing off down through the nerves. You may feel your spine releasing. You may feel all these rivers flowing off down through your arms and legs and through the organs, releasing. And get this just lovely feeling of energy or fluid traveling out through your body. Noticing how nice that feels. You feel that connecting to the earth out through your arms and legs, hands and feet. So the cranial sea relates to the lungs, or to the lung circuit. And you're breathing with the cranial sea. You may feel that it's easier for the lungs to open and close. And so the lungs in the face are like big maxillary sinuses either side of the nasal passageways. And the lungs for the cranium are more like the sides of the cranium. And the lungs for the abdomen is the colon. It rises up one side, across the top of the abdomen and down the other side. This circuit relates to the cranial sea. And feel the depth of the breath when you allow the cranial sea to breathe. And the other organs this relates to is the rectum and the pons, and as you drop into the rectum you may feel an energy releasing from the rectum up through the cranial sea in the spine, up through the cranial sea, through the brain stem and through the whole brain. This is the kundalini for the cranial sea. Gently breathing with the holographic breathing. Being aware of the cranial sea. And just letting the potency from the rectum and the area of the rectum release up through the cranial sea in the spine, through the cranial sea or energies of the brain. And this will invigorate the cranial sea, or the energies through the whole brain. Notice how easy your lungs breathe with the cranial sea. Letting that release, letting that pulse through your brain. Feel a release in the rectum and you feel a release through the whole brain. And through the cranial sea in the brain, or energies of the brain. being aware of the brain, spinal cord, the whole cranial sea, all the glial cells breathing. So we're going to go slower than I thought we'd go, because I can feel this kind of releasing a lot of karma. So we're just going to go nice and slowly, letting that release however it feels to release. You may feel a charge or an energy release from the rectum, through the spine, through the brain stem and through the brain. And feel your whole breathing through the lungs and through the cranial sea as that happens. Okay. And we're just going to drift from the cranial sea into the astrocyte cells. These are all of those sea anemone type cells. They're the connective tissue through the whole brain. And these breathe. They have muscles within them. And they create the inner, they're not just connective tissue for the brain, they breathe, they open and close with the breath. They're the connective tissue, but they also have an intelligence. And they're the highest level of connective tissue through the whole body. And there's quite a strong connection coming from the astrocyte cells through the top of the head. That even they're not of the intellect, but they have a strong connection to the higher self. And they have an intelligence which is not of the intellect. It's kind of a divine intelligence. So there's quite a strong opening from the astrocyte cells into the higher energies, just allowing that. You've got the energy that moves through the cranial sea, but there's this different energy, this different channel that drops down through the astrocyte cells. And right down through the spinal cord. The astrocytes don't carry on down through the nerves, but there is connective tissue. There's very soft, fine fibers that spread off through the nerves. They're not the astrocyte cells, but there's a fine connective tissue that spreads out through the nerves. and the dura, the membrane around the whole central nervous system. This is connective tissue, and the tentorium, which divides the brain laterally, and the falx that divides it vertically, they're connective tissue. So from this higher connective tissue, it starts working out through the meninges of the brain, down through the nerves, and through the fascia of the whole body, through the tendons, the cartilages, the diaphragms. So it's got this divine connection through the top of the head. The cranial sea flows out. The energies of the astrocyte cells connects out in a physical way, through the whole connective tissue that spreads out around the cells through the whole body. You've got this divine connection through the top of the head. Notice they don't think, but they are intelligent in another way. They are intelligent. So to connect to your connective tissue through the whole body, allowing your astrocyte cells to breathe and allow that energy to come through them, and allow that spreads out through the diaphragms, through the fascia, which spreads through the whole body. It's connective tissue that joins everything to everything, fed by this divine consciousness coming down into these sea anemone type cells floating in the cranial sea. And it does spread off down through the nerves, but through the connective tissue in the nerves. Noticing that spread out through your whole body, and through the arms and legs and the hands and feet. And a lot of connections from the yellow energy circuit. You may feel a connection to the tongue. Connecting to that, or through the nose. And the top of the nose, the bridge of the nose. The ethmoid between the eyes. It's a kind of energy points for that circuit. And the nose and the ethmoid have erectile tissue in them, which is kind of is connective tissue but erects. And feeling the erectile tissue in the penis, especially in the groin and in the clitoris. It spreads out through the pelvic floor there. And this connective tissue gives that potency, so you can have the divine energies coming down, and you can have the potency from the clitoris and the erectile tissue in the penis. It also is the coccyx is part of that. That rises up through the connective tissue, through the spine and the astrocyte cells in the spine, through the astrocyte cells in the brain. The astrocyte cells are through the whole brain. Notice this quality of intelligence, but it's not a thinking intelligence, it's a pure intelligence. And it connects from the astrocyte cells up through the crown chakra and into the beyond. So the energies travel both ways, and you can feel the connection to the earth through your feet, and also the earth kundalini from the hands and feet, traveling up through the connective tissue, and then through the astrocyte cells, which are the connective tissue for the central nervous system, through the whole of the brain. They fill out every part of the brain, has the intelligence of the astrocyte cells, and then to the higher self. And you may feel a potency feeding that circuit from the erectile tissue of the penis and the clitoris, and also around the coccyx area. Gently breathing with the holographic breathing as all the erectile tissue and fascia through your whole body starts to melt with the energy. Through every organ there's fascia, there's connective tissue. Through every part of you it connects everything to everything. And an energy runs through it, different qualities, through the different organs, different levels, through the different areas of the body. But it all connects together into this divine intelligence of the astrocyte cells, floating in the cranial sea and connecting to the divine intelligent in the subtle realms. You may feel this melting through your spinal cord and through your spine. All the connective tissue and discs between the vertebrae all start melting and healing. Also relates a lot to the stomach and the spleen. The spleen is directly back from the stomach, under the back ribs on the left-hand side. It's part of this circuit that relates to those energies. You may feel a connection from the spleen to the spine and the kundalini in the spine. From the spleen to the erectile tissue of the penis or to the erectile tissue of the clitoris. And this rises through the coccyx, through the spine, letting your spleen release. And then you can feel all of those little astrocyte cells coming to life as that energy travels through the connective tissue in the spine and in the brain. These astrocyte cells that have intelligence and have divine consciousness from the higher realms traveling through them. This is what Einstein had a lot of. Einstein had a lot of astrocyte cells. Letting that melt between your shoulder blades. We're not going to go much further than the astrocyte cells, it seems. We'll just be with this. We'll do the rest in different webinars. Just letting that whole system melt. And through the whole face, around the whole cranium, every joint, every membrane is fascia and connective tissue, and it all talks between each other, all connects to the beyond, all connects to the earth, and has the potency of the clitoris and the erectile tissue of the penis as a driving energy through it. Especially through the cervical vertebrae. Seems to be a lot happening there. Let all of those tiny tendons and discs melt in your neck. Allow your throat to relax. The throat trachea is made of cartilage. All the bronchial tubes are made of cartilage, allowing, get the trachea, your esophagus, the lungs, the bronchial tubes, let these melt. A lot of karma in the neck and throat at the minute. And as that goes, you may feel a strong release from the genitalia, the clitoris and penis. There we go, let that release. And that released right up through the front of your body. Through the whole trachea and the esophagus. Let that melt, let that energy go through there. This will heal your lungs. This will move up through the face and join this central intelligence of the astrocyte cells and its spiritual connection. Really making that connection, allowing that activation from the spiritual through your whole body, from the astrocyte cells. Breathe. Let that heal through and through. Definitely relax your neck. Let that energy burn through your neck. So we're going to come back in a couple of minutes, just breathing with that. Breathing with the holographic breathing. Breathing with that. Letting that calm down. Okay, so we didn't really get as far as I thought we were going to go. It just was much more powerful than I thought it was going to be. We'll have to do this in stages. Gently breathing. And sending a thank you to the earth, and a thank you to the higher self and beneficial energies. And letting the energies go off for love and healing to the earth, for love and healing to the higher self, for love and healing to the beneficial energies. And allowing yourself to be loved and healed. And allowing the energies to go out to all sentient beings for love and healing. You are a sentient being, allowing yourself to be loved and healed. And when you feel ready, gently allowing yourself to come back.